I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show and episode 4 of our special series, Megyn Kelly Investigates. We're tackling the disappearance of baby Lisa. She vanished from her crib in the middle of the night in October of 2011. Today, she'd be a teenager. But where is she? And who took her? Someone knows. A case like this generates a ton of interest and theories. Some, as we will explore in this episode, very dark and disturbing. So many people these days are focusing on getting healthy. And speaking of health, let me tell you about Jacob and Kristen, the founders of We Heart Nutrition. They are raising 5 kids while running a company that's helping hardworking Americans live the American dream. We Heart Nutrition makes high-quality, research-backed supplements for women and men at every stage of life, helping you stay strong, energized, and hitting your wellness goals. But this is not just another supplement company. They are proudly pro-life, donating 10% of every sale to pregnancy care centers, supporting moms and babies in need. They have over 1,000 5-star reviews from real people seeing real results. Go to weheartnutrition.com and take their quick 20-second quiz to get your personalized supplement subscription recommendation delivered right to your door each month. And right now, they're giving you 20% off your first order with the code MEGYN. Invest in your health and go to weheartnutrition.com. Use the code MEGYN to get 20% off. That's weheartnutrition.com, code MEGYN. The Kansas City police have stiff-armed the press, saying next to nothing about this case publicly. Neither Kansas City PD nor the FBI would talk to us. And philanthropist Christy Haas-Schiller's offer of a $100,000 reward for any information that could lead to the return of Lisa remains unclaimed. If you could write that $100,000 check, it'd probably be the most delightful money you ever spent in your life.
Absolutely. Still have hope.
While 42-year-old John Tanko, known as Jersey, may seem to have been the best suspect given his criminal history and that mysterious call from the Irwins' stolen phone to the phone of Tanko's ex-girlfriend, Megan Wright, on the night baby Lisa went missing, no arrests were ever made. In 2011, police said they'd moved on from Tanko, and there appears to have been little to no movement on this case in the nearly 13 years since it started. Jeremy and Deborah have been left in limbo. There were yearly vigils.
Please, God, keep her safe until she is home with us.
And occasional interviews, including one with me that aired in January 2014. When I interviewed you a couple years ago, Deborah, you said even back then you were looking in the crowd whenever you pass a child who would be Lisa's age.
Yeah, we actually, I did it all day today when we were walking around before we came here to see you. And I said to Jeremy, I'm really tired of looking at everybody else's kid open. It's mine.
This has to be its own form of torture. Jeremy Irwin.
I think about her every day. It doesn't go away, and the pain is still there, and just feel like you're not complete.
Do you ever feel bitter, Jeremy? I think I'd feel bitter, that my child was taken, that I didn't get this time, that if she's still out there, I've missed so much.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and it's pretty frustrating, and you have a lot of hate and anger on aspects like that. But there's nothing you can do about it, and that's not going to help get Lisa home any faster. It's frustrating that everybody's still out living their life and going to the grocery store and doing whatever they want to do, and meanwhile, we're just left to sit in the ashes.
Deborah Bradley.
It's really hard as she gets older and still not having her home and thinking about all the things I continue to miss out on. And it's like all of us have been robbed of that. And that is really hard to accept.
I just started reading stuff and just writing down a name here and a name here. And then I started doing my own searches.
Deborah's aunt, Cindy Lorette, has been relentless, constantly searching for clues, trying to piece together what may have happened.
I've done my own thing because there isn't anybody to help. I have sat in courtrooms. I have done my own surveillances. I visited people in jail that I didn't know. I don't really want to tell you everything I did, but I did a lot of stuff. But everything that I was reading throughout the internet, it just kept leading me back to the area that I was living at. So I got a job at this little convenience store, and I didn't tell anybody who I was. I just listened. I wanted to know things. I wanted to, and I did. I started to hear things. I mean, people talk.
Kansas City moms Missy Rasmussen and Jackie Heller, who are writing a book about this case, have spent more than a decade looking for leads. Where did that take you? What did you find?
It led us down some bad places, some bad neighborhoods, talking to some bad people.
Was your theory starting to develop in a different direction from where the mainstream narrative was going, Missy?
Yeah, definitely the mainstream narrative here is either Jersey or the mom. It is overwhelming how many people think that Deborah had something to do with it.
Nobody in this town is looking for her because they think her mother killed her, and she got away with it.
Much of what they've heard is secondhand and goes to some very dark places, to drug dens, to baby brokers, to terrible conclusions. My understanding is that you guys have spoken to at least 5 people about this theory, that some criminal element somehow connected to the family was responsible for this, and that at least 3 of them mentioned the sale of a baby.
Yeah.
Correct. Right.
In 2021, Deborah said much the same to a local reporter. What are you sure of, Deborah?
If the tips are right and the information we were given is right, she was sold.
You believe she was sold?
Absolutely.
To add to that theory, 1 month after Lisa went missing, Deborah and Jeremy found a charge on a debit card, $69.04, paid to a British company that called itself a name-changing service. This is one of the theories that, of course, puzzles me. How would the person wanting to steal baby Lisa think that they were going to get away with stealing baby Lisa on this night where the mother is at home?
There is nothing about walking into someone's house and taking their baby that makes any sense to me. But I don't know that the person doing that was a logical, rational, person the way that you and I are.
So if it has to do with drugs, in other words, they might have been out of their minds.
Sure. Yeah. I would guess for sure.
If we think that there might have been a criminal drug element involved in this, and you guys have been out there investigating this for all this time, pretty publicly, is there any fear on your part about your safety?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. We've had people tell us, we'll tell them, there's $100,000 reward. And they say, well, what good is the reward if I'm not alive to spend it?
Do you ever do your own investigation, start talking to people about what they know, what they saw? Jeremy Irwin.
Yeah, I mean, we did for a long, long time. And I mean, most of the stuff that we've gotten is stories that people have heard from other people. So it's a lot of it's third person stories. And I think there's real merit in a group of individuals that operate in that area that get rid of kids and illegally adopt, or however you want to phrase it, but take in children that they're not supposed to have and redistribute them. That's definitely going on up here. And at least at the time when I was talking with the investigators about it, they laughed in my face about it. So
other storylines that have circulated amongst the locals involve Deborah interacting with the drug underworld, possible urban myths with no proof, including one that baby Lisa was handed off to pay a drug debt. Was there anything that you, looking back, may have done to bring any of that cast of characters into your life?
Certainly not us. But we had people nearby that were into that lifestyle.
And you and Deborah never went there, scored drugs, called for anything from anybody connected to that place?
Oh, no, never. 100%.
Did they ever accuse you or Jeremy of being on drugs or having a connection to this house? Deborah Bradley.
No, because we offered samples of our hair so they can test hair and find out anything and everything you've done.
Some drugs, including methamphetamine, can be detected this way.
And so they were able to tell that I was telling the truth about that. That as far as that, if there was a connection and that was it, that's null and void. That's just not even an option.
So I ask you for the record, have you been on drugs? Were you on drugs around the time Lisa went missing?
Absolutely not.
And how about Jeremy?
Absolutely not.
It just wasn't your thing. You were not somebody who partook.
No, I watched in high school, watched friends suffer from addiction, and I didn't want to be that way. I just seen so much suffering. Aside from the fact that it's just not appealing to me. And as a parent, that'd be the last thing on my mind.
Mm-hmm. You don't do crystal meth, and you didn't do crystal meth at the time she disappeared.
Oh, God, no.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm sure you've heard that some people theorize you or Jeremy had a connection to this drug den and brought this cast of nefarious characters into your life, and one of them took her.
But those people should ask the cops about the DNA analysis on our hair and the drug test analysis on our hair. It's not there for a reason because it doesn't exist. So at least I have proof of that.
Reporter Jim Spellman covered the case for weeks after the story broke.
I have seen not one bit of information to indicate that Deborah Bradley, Jeremy Irwin, or anybody in their family was involved in some sort of drug thing. And I'll tell you, Megyn, I'm a drug addict in recovery. I've been clean for 21 years now, and I'm pretty good at figuring out drug addicts. The idea that Deborah Bradley or Jeremy Irwin were some sort of drug addicts in deep to dealers or something like that is ridiculous. I put, as close to certainty that is not the case as I can come, not blood testing people.
And now you are going to hear the absolute worst, darkest versions. Again, these are most likely urban myths, we just don't know, about what may have happened to Lisa. And we do need to warn you, they come with awful, grisly details. Author Jackie Heller.
And this is what really breaks my heart about this whole thing, is the one consistent narrative that we have found in this story is that Lisa is no longer with us.
What you're saying is you've talked to people who think they know what happened and who say the baby was killed.
Yes. We had someone tell us that Lisa is in the bottom of Smithville Lake, and they put her body in a duffel bag and made sure that the blocks weighed more than she did. So there was no chance of her body coming up. Those are the kind of things that we've heard about this.
Cindy Lorette, Deborah's aunt, heard something even darker.
Somebody had Lisa, and they got scared because the media, it became such a big deal. That person got scared and he chopped Lisa up. He took her to this house, and one of the people that was in the house told me this story, that she was brought to the house and they were at the end of the bed, and she was crying, and they said to get the fucking baby out of the house. I still don't know what to believe.
We managed to get our hands on police documents with equally dark testimonials. These are supplemental interview reports that police do not make public. They reflect interviews with two different men who claim to know something about the Baby Lisa case. We have confirmed the case file numbers on these reports, and we've spoken with both men, Chad Huber and the second man interviewed who asked us not to use his name. They confirmed their conversations with Kansas City police officer Michael Wells, the very same name that appears in these documents. It appears that Officer Wells was investigating a car theft ring, among other things. We discussed these police interviews with co-authors Missy Rasmussen and Jackie Heller. These are follow-up interviews with people who have been charged with unrelated, petty crimes, theft crimes and so on, just a few months after Baby Lisa disappeared. And this is a police interview with someone named Chad Huber. Do you guys know that name? Have you heard Chad Huber?
No.
Okay. So back in 2012, Chad Huber apparently had thoughts on Baby Lisa and named 3 new people with a possible connection to this case. 3 new names we have not discussed in this series: Matt Shaver, Boris Dubinsky, and Cody Allnut. Huber also mentions one that you'll be familiar with, Dane Greathouse. This is complicated and a lot to follow. Bear with me. According to the interviews, Chad Huber, car thief suspect, tells cops that Cody Allnut, an 18-year-old who, according to his father, was hanging out with a bad crowd, wanted to talk to Chad about baby Lisa. Chad Huber tells police, presumably based on that conversation with Cody Allnut, that baby Lisa is dead. And while the documents do not reveal anything about how, Chad Huber says several people are involved. Dane Greathouse, the same guy who allegedly had the phone called by the Irwins' stolen cell phone the night Lisa went missing, was paid to move Lisa's deceased body, says Huber, from one gravesite to another. Who? Who paid him? According to Huber, it was convicted criminal Boris Dubinsky. Huber tells police, as reflected in these documents, Dubinsky paid $15,000 for the transfer. Why would he do that? And where would this guy possibly get 15 grand? What's more, according to a 2012 police interview, Huber tells cops that Matt Shaver, the owner of that house in which Megyn Wright was doing drugs on the night Lisa went missing, had pictures the cops might want to see. First, can I just ask you for your reaction to that excerpt?
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
What is interesting about it to you?
The names, the Schaefer name and Cody are names that we've heard.
What is interesting to me is that it parallels an experience that we had. We spoke with someone who Cody had approached her story, her words. Cody had approached her seemingly really needing to get this off his chest.
And this name, Dane Greathouse, of course, is very relevant.
That's who we think that call was intended for. I think it was a signal.
That the baby had been taken?
Right.
And so if he really did move the body and was paid $15,000 to move the body from the original burial site, I mean, there's a lot of buzz around Dane Greathouse and a few different lines into him. Again, we don't know if they're true. This is just as reflected in the police report.
I had someone send me a text message once, and it said, "This is the person you need to talk to. This person has all your answers." And it was a photo of Dane Greathouse.
We've tried to talk to him. He's a trip, big time trip. He wanted like thousands of dollars for us to talk to him.
Oh, great.
I was like, yeah, we're not entertaining this.
Dane Greathouse did speak with us, telling us he was questioned by police. He told us he knew who Boris Dubinsky was, but did not actually know the man. He also said he never moved anything, nor was he paid anything. We found him living at home with his mother, where he was participating in drug court, an alternative to jail that offers treatment and education. Dane followed up with a text that read in part, "I'm glad you guys came over and talked. Honestly, I just hope this can bring light to the case and in time things get solved." Boris Dubinsky also told us he had nothing to do with baby Lisa's disappearance. He said he was once in the same jail with Chad Huber, that he knows what Huber said about him, but that none of it is true. Matt Shaver told us there were indeed photos of the riverbank stored on his PlayStation memory card. He said police confiscated that card, and when they did, they told him the photos had originated on Cody Allnut's phone. He says he has no idea if they were pictures of a gravesite. As these pictures show, there was a search done along the banks of the Missouri River. No body was found. What Cody Allnut saw or did not see, we may never know. We were not able to speak with him. We did speak with his father, Larry, who told us Cody has schizophrenia. Larry Allnut is his son's limited guardian and conservator. He told us the FBI interviewed Cody once around the time Lisa disappeared and never returned. As for Megyn Wright, Megyn, have you heard the name Cody Allnut or Boris Dubinsky? Have you heard those names?
Those don't sound familiar to me.
But she does remember Matt Shaver, who gave her a place to stay all those years ago.
Matt was one of the people, him and his wife owned the house I was referring to.
And what was he like?
He was a carpet layer, best I remember. So he was always very active, hardworking kind of guy, trying to support his family. When I moved in there, they were trying not to lose their house. So I was trying to help them get things cleaned up, kind of get everything, move people out, make it a more family appropriate environment for him and his wife and their kids. That's why I moved in there. And the perk of it was hiding from Jersey. He was not familiar to that house at that time.
Did the Kansas City police investigate any of these claims or come to a conclusion about this cast of characters? We don't know because they won't say. When we called and asked, they again told us they will not comment on a so-called open investigation. And we are not the only ones being ignored by the Kansas City PD. According to Jeremy, they have received not a single update on their missing daughter in the last 10 years. I find it appalling that they haven't contacted you in years. You don't even get an annual phone call from a police officer saying, we're still looking into it, we haven't forgotten about you?
Oh, no. I couldn't even tell you the last time we were contacted by law enforcement of any kind. It was maybe year 3, maybe.
Oh, wow.
It's been a long time.
They've moved on.
For sure. I think they realized how big it was, and I think they screwed it up really badly, and I think they just want to be done with it.
Author Jackie Heller.
They dropped the ball. They had tunnel vision from the beginning, and they've dropped the ball. They have let Lisa down.
Once again, Deborah's aunt, Cindy Lorette.
I know people who have called the TIPS hotline that have reached out to me and to get no help. About 3 months ago, a guy thought he saw Lisa in Las Vegas. He ended up getting the phone number to the police department. He called there and they said, okay, thanks, and just hung up. They did not ask him any questions. He gave them the information. They don't care. They're not looking for Lisa. They don't give a shit. They think that she's dead somewhere and mom did it. And they're not even trying to prove that. I mean, they're just done. They're done with it.
Author Missy Rasmussen.
If it were me and someone told me that someone told them they know that a baby was murdered, I would even 3 degrees removed.
Triple hearsay.
Yeah, I would still want to get that off my chest. So I get it, but it is really difficult to get any closer than, say, 2 degrees.
You know, it should be easier for police. Police have all sorts of investigatory abilities and powers that we don't have to figure out who was where, when, what the phone records of that person show, and what their actions were.
It just lacks the right person to come in and be like, we're finally going to do what needs to be done for Lisa.
Reporter Jim Spellman, who covered the case extensively, has a different view.
Every indication that I got is that the Kansas City police and the FBI were conducting a very vigorous and thorough investigation. Every time that I would uncover some new element or another reporter would uncover some new thing, the police had already been there generally a couple of weeks before. And we saw lots of evidence that they were thoroughly tracking down people's alibis, that they were, searching electronically, that they were searching surveillance cameras. That would have been an asset for the family. And the family ended up treating them like they were the enemy.
So to those who think, oh, the Kansas City police botched this, they failed to investigate properly. We would have found her if we had a more robust police department on the case. You don't agree with that?
I don't agree with that. I think that they did a very thorough investigation. All of the key people that surfaced in the media, that surfaced through my reporting, had been thoroughly investigated.
John Jersey Tanko was questioned by the police at the time. He denies any involvement, and the case remains open. Did the FBI ever tell you, Megyn, that you were cleared? I realize you only had that 1 6-hour meeting. Did they ever, or the Kansas City PD? Megyn Wright.
They told me they'd be in touch if they needed anything else from me, and I haven't heard anything in 12 years. Never seen anything where they made a statement publicly bringing up my name saying, oh, she was cooperative. She came in for an interview and we have ruled her out as a suspect. That'd be great to hear, but it's never happened.
As for Jeremy Irwin and Deborah Bradley, It's been dark narratives, 12 years of missing their baby girl, and a struggle to stay together.
It's really hard to be there for someone else that you love when you're falling apart yourself. And we tried to make it work for a really long time. And I think it just got to the point where, unfortunately, we fell into this statistic.
Their relationship came to an end in the summer of 2022, and Deborah moved out of their home on North Lister.
I had hoped we would beat the odds. But it's okay, because now we have the chance to get better on our own and be better for our family and ourselves.
You know, the main concern for me, outside, second to Lisa, has always been the boys and making sure that they have some semblance of a normal life, even with this going on. And I feel that we have at least succeeded in that.
And you still, notwithstanding the fact that you're separated from Deborah, you still believe in her. It hasn't caused you to doubt her.
No, not at all. I mean, it doesn't change the fact. I mean, we're talking about my daughter here, and we're talking about her mother. So it's the same thing I've been saying for years. You know, if you're going to tell me that Deborah did it, you better tell me what it is, and you better tell me a story associated with it. Other than that, I've heard it all, and you can't tell me nothing new.
I think that God put us together because he knew we would be able to survive long enough to be there for each other in positive ways. And we may not be together now, but I still trust him, and I will always love him because he has my kids.
You look at the joy that you get from raising two boys and having them go out into the world, and they're awesome young men, and they're going to kill it, and they have their own life paths, and everything's starting to work out for them. But as a man, I was robbed my portion of that with my daughter. You know, I hope one day, that tomorrow or a year from now or whatever, I hope that Lisa's found and that she comes home and we can start over, and at 13 years old or 18 years old or however old she is. But it would be nice to start that relationship, in which I haven't been able to have this whole time.
What if all it takes is just the one person to watch what we're doing now, and they like, oh, this kid looks familiar? It could happen in so many ways. And we've also put our DNA with Ancestry.com and 23andMe, and I open up my email and and I'll see you have another relative, and I always click on it, hoping it's her.
Cindy Lorette.
I've tried to convince myself that she's no longer here and to move on, but I can't. I'm going with my gut and my heart. She's out there somewhere. She's a beautiful little girl, and we're going to find her. This is for Lisa. We need to find what happened to Lisa. Where the hell is she? Dead or alive, we need to find out what happened. There, I said it.
Like, how do you make sense of why this happened?
There's a lot of tough questions, and the answer is free will, and evil men will do evil things.
What's your best hope of where she's been these past 12 years?
My best hope is that she's safe and she's with people that love her and care for her and feed her well and treat her well, and she's able to go to the doctor, and maybe she's able to go to school somewhere.
And she just has no idea that she's actually someone else's child.
That's what I'm hoping, that she's totally ignorant to it and living a completely normal life. That's what I really hope for.
Do you ever wonder whether it would be easier if you knew, one way or the other, what had happened? If just, even if the outcome were bad, that you had a confirmation that she had passed, would that somehow be easier?
Well, I think if that's my two options, if I were to know that something bad happened or to never know, then I'll just stay never knowing, I guess.
Jeremy would rather never know, and he and Deborah didn't make it. Bill Stanton spent a lot of time with Deborah and Jeremy. He joined me along with our other go-to crime expert, Phil Houston.
You know, you could feel the bond, and I saw it, and I'm sure you saw it between the two of them. I mean, it's a nightmare. And statistically, they should have been divorced within months. But their faith in Lisa and themselves kept them together for years. You know, I know people in a lot higher tax brackets than them, you know, a lot higher education than them that, you know, would have crumbled. It says
And
a
he
lot
never
about who
doubted
they
her.
are.
He never doubted her, Bill.
her. It's a sad love story.
But when you watched her today, what jumped out at you?
That this woman has evolved as a person, how she remains resolute. And I wanted her to be guilty more than anyone, because statistically she was. I wanted to wrap it up and get the heck home. You know, they had no reason to accept me in their home. I told them as soon as I got there, I'm not here for you. Meaning that if it's you, I'm coming for you. And I said that to them. And they looked me square in the eye, help find our baby.
What did you make of the fact that in my interview with Deborah, she was saying, this did jump out at me, she was saying things like, there's an example of a mother who found her daughter after 16 years. There's an example of a father who found his kid after X years. I went to 23andMe and I gave my DNA. I went to Ancestry.com and I gave my DNA there just in case, you know, she finds it. I realize even somebody who had done something would be smart enough to say present tense, present tense, present tense. So that's okay. I'll check that to the side. But doing things like that, I believe her that she did searches for a child who came back. Why would you do that if you knew your child was no longer alive?
No, that's what gets her through the day.
What did you make of that stuff, Phil?
I believe that she has, but it's also her undoing, I believe. Since I spoke to her about a year and a half ago, and when I hung up, I thought, my goodness, the frustration that she's feeling is going to eat her alive. And you know, I don't want to trivialize it in this comparison, but, you know, think for a moment, you're at your house and all of a sudden you're looking for your car keys and you can't find them, and how quickly you become frustrated. And you look and you start, you know, hollering at people and, you know, help me find my keys and, you know, whatever. Think if that frustration went on for 12 years. How would you, you know, how big would that build that you're looking for this thing that you can't find?
That leads me back to these police reports that you guys have seen, these interview reports that we managed to get our hands on. And they talk about how these alleged petty criminals around this case allegedly, again, this very much could be crooks trying to lower their sentences and give police fake little gold nuggets. But they talk about having seen pictures of a gravesite, pictures of a mound of dirt. Somebody allegedly brought the baby in a black garbage bag and buried it. Like, there's some of that out there. I mean, it's possible that she did the same thing, that's all made up, but that she did actually bring the baby out there and that the baby was buried. And this same Keystone Cop Force just didn't find it.
So the first thing that comes to my mind, Megyn, is that if I've committed a crime as heinous as this particular crime, I find it hard to believe I'd be running around telling people that we've done this and so forth. And you know, while one person might do it, I think if it were a group effort, that one person would be in hot water pretty quickly with the rest of the team, so to speak. You know, even if they were under the influence of drugs, the next morning they would probably be saying to themselves, we need to put a lid on this.
The greatest thing I think Deborah's got in her favor, you tell me if I'm wrong, Bill, is Phil Houston.
And for that, nothing to add.
Right?
Absolutely.
I just can't get past the fact that the human lie detector, CIA 25 years, breaking terrorists, breaking double agents, seeing the deception where no one else could, that guy got fooled by Deborah Bradley. I don't believe it.
Thank you for the kind words, Megyn. Believe me, like you, this case has haunted me, and I pray often that I'm right and that she's right, that Lisa's out there somewhere.
Coming up in our next episode, Jersey John Tanko, the man everyone wants to know more about. We found him. And wait until you hear what he told me. We'll see you tomorrow for the final episode. Don't miss that. But first, if you're watching right now, please take a look at this picture of Lisa as she might look now. If you're listening, you can see the photo on YouTube or just go to megynkelly.com. If you see her or think you might have any information that can help find her, please write to me. The address is Megyn, M-E-G-Y-N, at megynkelly.com. You can also pass along tips on the Baby Lisa story to the Kansas City Police Department or encourage them to get active on this case. That would be very helpful. Reach out at kccrimestoppers.com, kccrimestoppers.com, or call them at 816-474-TIPS, T-I-P-S. That's 816-474-8477. 1 in 2 adults have high blood pressure. Many don't even know it. That's a ticking time bomb. But here's the good news. You have the power to take control naturally with 120 Life. 120 Life is a blend of great tasting super fruit juices that can actually help lower your blood pressure naturally. 120 Life is formulated with ingredients that have been shown to support healthy blood pressure levels. It's trusted by hundreds of health professionals, and people have seen real measurable results. You can try it yourself risk-free with their 2-week trial. Just go to 120life.com. and use the code MK to save 15% and get free shipping. You can track your progress with a simple blood pressure monitor, watch your numbers drop, and feel the difference. They are so sure that 120 Life can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks that they will give you your money back if you're not satisfied. So you have nothing to lose but those high blood pressure numbers. Go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com. And remember to use the code MK to save 15% off your order. This is serious. This is your life we're talking about. 120 Life can help. Take control of your life and your health today. There is a real and growing threat to your home and your equity, and it's called title fraud. Here's how it works. Criminals can forge a single document, file it with the recorder, and just like that, your home's title is stolen. They take out loans against your property, draining your equity, and you would not even know it had happened until it was too late. Here's the really scary part. Credit monitoring will not protect you from any of this. But I want to tell you about Home Title Lock to protect your home and equity. Their exclusive triple lock protection gives you 24/7 monitoring of your home's title, urgent alerts if there are any changes, and a team of experts to help restore your title if fraud happens at no extra cost. The bottom line, your home's your biggest investment. Don't leave it vulnerable. Home Title Lock is offering an exclusive 25% off their protection plans. You just go to HometitleLock.com and use the promo code Megyn25 to get 25% off your subscription and a free title history report to make sure you're not already a victim. Protect your home and equity today. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code Megyn25.